right, hello everybody, and today we are here with something new. There is an arena direct this weekend. So what happens is it's sealed deck. Unfortunately, this one's not draft. This one is sealed. When we buy in, we're gonna open 6 packs of Aether Drift sealed, and then the quest is easy. We want to get 6 wins before we get 2 losses, and if we do that, we get 2 real-life boxes of Aether Drift. We can turn them into real Magic cards. So it's very exciting. We're gonna grab a sealed pool and hop right into building. Okay, here we are. We're gonna open our packs, see what our rares are, then we're looking at the rest of our pool. All right, so right away, we got a couple great blue cards, Possession Engine, and we know how much I love Riverchurn Monument. Riverchurn Monument, I think, is almost a little bit better in sealed. The reason for that is that the decks in sealed are a little less cohesive, so there's less like really great aggro decks in the format, and so things like Mill Rocks, you have a little bit more time generally in the games to play them. Vinwixt, also a super cool card, and we do also have Mimeoplasm. We have not played this one yet. It is Sultai X. As it enters, exile to X target cards from your graveyard. It enters with 3+1/+1 counters, and then you can make it a copy of target creature exiled with it. It's a pretty cool card. We'll see what our fixing looks like. Full Throttle and Radiant Lotus, not very exciting limited cards. And then, if our blue's really bad, we can look at possibly playing other colors, but our rares definitely lean us towards wanting to play blue. So one of the first things I do when I see one of these pools is I look at the multicolor first. It's just one of the ways I like to look at pools. I think let's look at it this way. So let's go over to multicolor. We have a Gastral Thrill Seeker, and then we'll also look at the lands while we're here. So we have a white-blue land, Gastral Thrill Seeker, a green-red land, 2 Boost Buggies, a Sky Serpent Seeker, a red-white card, the Samet, Mimeoplasm. We have 1 Night Market as fixing, and then in artifacts we have Compact Art Removal, Hit Automaton, Starting Column, and Wreck Remover. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of go through all the colors really fast. We'll see kind of what we have. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to this view. They're gonna be a little small, but that's okay. So white is a color in this format that is generally a little underpowered. I think you don't really want to be playing white unless you have a lot of really great white cards. In draft, sometimes you're the only white drafter, and so I more often play white, but looking at our white cards, they're pretty underwhelming. We have 1 Glory Heath Lynx. That card's good. But I don't really think that and this 1 Ride's End are enough to support all of our white, especially when we're being pushed so heavily into other colors. So I'm going to go ahead. We can ignore our white. In blue, we have Bounce Off, which is a totally serviceable card. 2 of the 08 Octopi. I'm definitely totally fine playing one of these cards, especially with Riverchurn Monument. Having an 08 that blocks just means it's going to be very difficult for them to attack. We have Skylight Optimizer, which is nothing too exciting. Ranger's Refueler. This is a super premium card. I think probably one of the top uncommons in the set. Whenever you activate an exhaust ability, you draw a card, and then you can make it an artifact creature. That card's pretty good. We can consider playing some of these like counter spells or something for filler if we need to. We have Vinwixt. 2 of the 2/2s that start your engines and can exile from the graveyard as flyers. Those are serviceable cards. 1 Howler's Heavy, 2 Nimble Thopterus, definitely playable cards, and we've got this Possession Engine. So I'm going to go ahead now and just like put in the cards that I would consider playing in blue. Not that like we're definitely going to play blue, or that I really want to play all of these cards. I'm put both of these for now. But it just gives us something to look at while we're looking at the other colors. We've kind of discounted white. Looking at black, we have a Grimbauble, Spin Out, and Siphon Fuel. So we do have 3 removal spells in black. One of them is double black, which means, it's going to be kind of tough to splash. And we don't have really any of the exciting creatures or things that work with the blue cards very well. So I also think for now, we're going to skip the black. Going into red, we have a Lightning Strike, which we've learned is, just okay in this format. Some red cards we're not super excited about. 2 Thunderhead Gunners. So, if we do end up having enough fixing to play some sort of like team or exhaust deck, Thunderhead Gunner, possibly with these 2 Boost Buggies. Thunderhead Gunner is a great card. Okay, in green we have Molt Tender, which is useful. It helps fix. 2 Stampeding Scurryfoots. That card's great. Run Over. We could consider playing a Broken Wings. We have 2 Ooze Patrols and a Migrating Ketrodon. So, looking at this, I'm really happy with our green cards. I'm going to go ahead, throw some of these into our pile here. And then we have our Sky Serpent Seeker. And then we could either on the splash here play red. Pit Automaton's great in this deck. If we wanted to splash, which we definitely don't have to, but we could possibly splash to put our quality of cards up a little higher. We have Rugged Highlands and Night Market and Starting Column if we wanted to play an additional color. There's two colors we could possibly look at. One is black, which would give us Mimeoplasm, plus, possibly some additional removal if that was something we were interested in. Probably not Spin Out, but like maybe we could play the Siphon Fuel or something. Or we could play red, which gives us these two boost buggies that make treasures and they have exhaust, so they're good with our Ranger's Refueler. We could play our Thunderhead Gunner, possibly like a Lightning Strike. Let's look at our deck if it's just two colors. Bounce Off. We have, for anything that exhausts, we have Scurryfoot, Refueler. Riverchurn Monument does technically have exhaust. I don't really want to play Interference or this 3/3. We have Sky Serpent Seeker. Riverchurn Monument technically. I don't really want to play the Skylight Optimizer either. So I kind of want to splash another color because I feel like our card quality is not particularly good. Especially, we're playing against a lot of other people that also open sealed pools. And, there's a chance that their sealed pools are just super strong. And so I'd rather be a little bit riskier on mana to play some slightly stronger cards. So I'm going to go ahead, throw our fixing in our deck, our green-red cards, and then I'm going to put both Thunderhead Gunners in for now and like the Lightning Strike. And we'll kind of look from there. And so, I'm not super excited about any of these white cards. I think I'm okay without the Spectral Interference. I do think these counterspells are a little bit better typically in sealed. Just, there's more big creatures, more things that they counter. I'm actually gonna put one back in the deck. We can consider playing it. I don't think we're gonna play black. We could possibly play this Broken Wings, but it's not something that I love having in my deck. There's just some decks where it really does nothing. And I think I have everything I would consider playing in my deck. So first thing I'm gonna look at is how many creatures we have. 19. And that does not include like these boost buggies, these vehicles that sometimes turn into creatures. I don't think I want to play this Guidelight Optimizer. I almost wonder maybe we can make our mana better by playing a little less blue. We kind of need the blue for certain parts of our deck, but not sure. There's fixing. Our deck is really removal light, is my concern. It's why I kind of want to play this Lightning Strike, despite it not being great removal. These Glitch Ghost Surveyors are looking pretty underwhelming. They're like just not cards gonna want to play. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut both of them. And then I don't think Vin Wix looks particularly good here, but I think an 0/4 is serviceable enough, and we do have a couple of flyers that can kind of help us sneak in. So I will leave them there. Okay, I think now I am gonna cut the Spectral Interference. And I think Ooze Patrol is better in sealed. Just like a big creature, I think does a little bit more. But maybe that's not so true. Our curve is also decently pretty high. We could consider playing a little less red. We don't necessarily need to play these boost buggies. If we do that, our fixing is a little bit better. We're just splashing for the Lightning Strike and the two Thunderhead Gunners. I definitely think we need these cards in our deck for our deck to like function a little bit better than it does currently. Alright, I think I'm gonna cut one Ooze Patrol. Not really the deck where Ooze Patrol kind of shines. Alright, we have one 3-mana spell. Our curve is a little awkward. I'm gonna double check our pool and make sure we didn't miss anything, but I'm gonna check our lands first. This is 8 blue. 7 green and 5 red. I don't think we need 5 red. I'm going to go down a red source to go up a green source. It'll give us a little bit more for Ketrodon and more turn 1 green for Stampeding Scurryfoot. With that, I think this is where I am on the sealed pool. It does look like colors we're typically pretty happy to play. I think instead of this lightning strike, actually, I'm going to play spectral interference. I'm considering playing both. It's almost like a better answer to some things than the removal, especially since our removal is bad. I do think I am considering going down another mountain for these Thunderhead Gunners. That would put us at 1, 2, 3 green sources plus Molt Tender and starting column. I think that's fine, especially because it's not a card we're playing early. I want to make our mana base just a little bit better towards casting our green things early. This is 9 green and 8 blue. We do have more blue in our deck than green. And we want to make sure we kind of have blue on turn 2. I think I will go to playing 8 blue. 9 blue, 8 green, 3 red. I think I like that. We could consider playing these Glitch Ghost Surveyors. Like, maybe they're better here than these, like, Nimblethopterists. They're a little cheaper, and they fly, so they help a little bit more with this speed thing. And then, you know, they also start our speed, which is nice. I don't like Ooze Patrol here. I'm gonna go back and put these Glitch Ghost Surveyors back in. Red cards. Nothing else super interesting. I think I don't want to play these boost buggies. Think we need any of the artifacts. Okay, so from here, we could consider cutting 1 card. Even consider cutting a land, but our deck is pretty mana intensive. I think we want to have all our land. I think we don't need this bounce off in this deck. I'd rather have a higher density of creatures. All right, this is going to be the deck. I'll see you guys for match number 1. Okay, here we are for match number 1. Our opponent is on the play, but our hand looks pretty good. You know, we have our Thunderhead Gunner that we can't cast quite yet. We have Stampeding Scurryfoot as a turn 1 play, Vinwix as a turn 2 play, and Glitch Ghost Surveyor as a turn 3 play, which is something that helps us start our engine, and Stampeding Scurryfoot as a turn 4 play. And Vinwix is a good blocker, so I think I'm pretty happy with our hand. We've kind of figured out what our first couple turns are going to look like. I'm going to play a Swamp. I think I want to play my Stampeding Scurryfoot on turn 1. If it gets to attack for 1 and up our speed next turn, I think that's pretty valuable. And I think we'll find time to play our Night Market at another time if we do. A 4-1. Interesting. Well, I think I don't really want this 4-1 attacking, so I'm going to play this Vinwixed, but I'm not going to attack as much as I'd like to, just so that I can block this 4-1 if it attacks. Grim Bauble, that's unfortunate. This 4-1 is going to do quite a bit of damage here, but there's not much we can do about it. I don't really want to lose our Vinwix to not take 4 points of damage. They're starting their engines. I think that's okay. You know, we'll be able to block it next turn, and Vinwix blocks their other creature pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and play our Glitch Ghost Surveyor. Next turn, we can consider playing our Night Market if we don't draw another... Oh, I mean, we don't have a choice if we don't draw another land, but we can consider holding up Spectral Interference, which should counter most things going into that turn. Right, they could have a couple of tricks here, but I'm just going to force them to have it. I don't really want them getting, like, random speed for no reason, and... You know, if they're going to put a card into killing Vinwix, I don't think that's so bad for us. Like, they're thinking about what they want to do with their turn. Playing Night Market next turn is also nice, because if we play one more land, or if we draw another land, then we can play our Thunderhead Gunner. We've lost Vinwix to Petal to the... I think I'm okay with that. We have the option here of either Nimblethopterist or play our land and pass. I think with this 2-1 being one of the only things they have in play, I am going to play this Nimblethopterist. I just don't really want to let them, especially in Black-Red, which is an archetype that actually cares about speed, I don't really want to, like, just keep giving them speed. Well, it looks like they're not going to give us a choice. They're going to play Apocalypse Runner. So it is going to be unblockable, which is fine. I mean, when they get to max speed, it will not be unblockable anymore. With crew 3, I am a little nervous that they're going to attack with this big creature, and I don't really want to take that much damage. I think we've got a pretty good defensible side, so I'm going to keep our Nimblethopterist back. I think it's just a little bit safer, you know. We can counter something if they play a creature, but, and this I will counter, given that it takes away a creature from the deck. I'll counter that Carrion Cruiser, and hopefully that means that we don't have to deal with this Apocalypse Runner being this turn. But it does also mean that they want to spend their turn making the Walking Sarcophagus unblockable. And the Walking Sarcophagus is no longer going to do that because it has 3 power now. Can control target creature. I'm thinking maybe we want to play the Possession Engine and take their only creature. That's fine. I don't know if then I want to attack with both of our creatures. I think maybe I should have, if I was only attacking with one creature last turn, it should have been the Nimblethopterist, because I think I'd rather trade with the 1/1 Thopter. We missed a couple points of damage last turn. Thankfully, you know, I think our opponent's playing a more aggressive deck. If we're able to stabilize and just play more cards than they are, I think we're likely to win the game kind of without that. So it's not so bad. The nice part here is if they do ever crew the Apocalypse Runner to attack, we'll be able to crew our Possession Engine, and I don't think we value having this Walking Sarcophagus. Oh, okay, well, they took their creature back. That's kind of rude, especially because it does crew the Apocalypse Runner. Okay. So now we have to think, because this Apocalypse Runner is probably going to start attacking us decently soon. So if we play our Nimblethopterist, we'll have 2 3/2s to block the Apocalypse Runner. Or we could just play our Thunderhead Gunner, and then they only get the opportunity to kill one of the cards. The thing is, I think I'm okay waiting to play the Thunderhead Gunner until I really have cards I'm willing to discard. I think I'm okay just going wide with the Nimblethopterist. It's not the most mana efficient play, but I think that's okay. And I don't think our 1 Thopter is blocking. I am going to leave our second Nimblethopters back to possibly trade with this Apocalypse Runner. They do only have 1 card. And so I think being more defensive is probably better for us. Did get to max speed, which is nice. We can draw a card with Glitch Ghost Surveyor at some point if we want to. So Apocalypse Runner can no longer make the Walking Sarcophagus unblockable, which is nice. Looks like they are going to crew. And you know, if they have a removal spell, they have a removal spell, but I'm going to try to trade with this Apocalypse Runner. I don't think they've had a removal spell with their 1 card, and so they did end up having one. Whether they had it earlier or they drew it, it's unclear. So not the best trade, but I think we're okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play our Thunderhead Gunner now. I don't really want to trade it for the Apocalypse Runner, but I also don't think we want to take 6. I'm gonna go ahead. I don't really want to play a bunch more lands. I'd kind of like to find some action in our deck. Riverchurn Monument, not quite helping us here, but it's okay for now. I'm gonna leave these back just because I think, you know, if they have a removal spell, I don't want to be forced to block with the Thunderhead Gunner if they have like another Grimbauble or something small. And we can consider chumping with the little 1/1 guys for now. Chumping with the 1/1s looks pretty good too, because we can cycle our Howler's Heavy if we block it with the Thunderhead Gunner, which would keep our Thunderhead Gunner alive. So I think I am just gonna chump block this Apocalypse Runner for this turn. Just eat it with a little Thopter. And then, you know, if they had something small to remove it, we didn't take 6 and we got to keep our Thunderhead Gunner, which is nice. I am gonna go ahead and discard our land. And I probably will play Riverchurn Monument this turn. I think my plan is to, I'll go ahead and play our land, cycle Howler's Heavy. And so I'm going to play the Riverchurn Monument with a plan to start milling our opponent. I think that'll be a better win condition than. Then I can feel less bad about missing points of damage throughout the match. And with that, I am going to pass back over to my opponent. I want to be able to double block their Apocalypse Runner and cycle so that our Thunderhead Gunner survives. And we'll use our leftover mana to mill our opponent with Riverchurn Monument. They're passing to attackers. Go to blockers and go double block here. See if they have anything. Road Rage. Okay, no problem. We'll continue anyway. Cycle our Howler's Heavy. We do lose our Thopter, so we need to find another way to block at some point. But we don't lose our Thunderhead Gunner, which was an important part of this plan. Go ahead and start milling our opponent. So this puts them to now 11 cards in library. Go ahead and discard one of our. Try to draw a card here. Ranger's Refueler. Okay, that's a pretty good one. This will draw a card and turn into a creature, and I think that's pretty good. You know, it lets us attempt our double block again. I'm gonna go ahead and exhaust right away just to get our card, and we did draw Scrap Compactor, which is nice. I think I still want to double block this turn. Kind of force them to have the removal spell again. But the nice part about drawing the Scrap Compactor is we do have an answer to their board now, which should hopefully buy us enough time to mill them out with Riverchurn Monument. Looks like they are planning on going for this attack again. At least they're thinking about it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just thinking about it. All right. They are just thinking about it. They're not going to attack. That means good things for us. We have a much better clock here with Riverchurn Monument if they aren't able to do anything. Strike Packer. Right. You Pit Automaton. That's a pretty good card. I think I'm going to go ahead and kill the Walking Sarcophagus. Because it means I can't crew the Apocalypse Runner. But maybe. Ooh, Pit Automaton. So Pit Automaton means we have lethal next turn. Because it can exhaust with the Riverchurn Monument. We don't actually even need to mill them this turn. So I'm going to play the Scrap Compactor. And then I'll pass it over. I guess we should kill. Let's kill this Walking Sarcophagus now. We're doing this because they needed to crew the Apocalypse Runner. And so, that forces them to kind of play another creature if they want to crew it on their turn. And like we just mentioned, we win the game if they pass back to us. Honestly, we don't even really need the Pit Automaton to double the exhaust trigger, but the exhaust trigger going on the stack is it's very, very good and limited. It's like basically Splinter Twin. All right, we got our first match, and I will see you guys for game number 2. Okay, here we are for game number 2. We are on the play this time. We have all of our colors, but we do only have 2 lands. However, we do have Vinwixt, which is a pretty good blocker early and 2-drop, and we can cycle our Ketcheron if we really need to find another land. Plus, we have a 3-drop in Glitchgo Surveyor. And a removal spell. I think this hand is looking fine to me. I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Our opponent did mulligan. That's probably pretty good for us. I'm a little nervous, especially because we kind of want to draw more than 1 land for this hand to work. We'd like to draw a number of them. Cycling the Migrating Ketcheron should help, but if we're able to, play our Vinwixt on turn 2, play our Glitchgo Surveyor, and then start attacking, we should be okay, so it's not the end of the world if we don't get anything too soon. We did also draw this Coral Tyrant. We have another 2-drop. Should buy us plenty of time to find our lands. If I don't draw my land this turn, I am going to... Okay, if I didn't draw the land, I was going to play the cycle the Catcher on that turn. I just don't really want to be missing land drops. I'm going to go ahead and play the Glitchgo Surveyor. I think the most likely outcome of the following turn is they use Scrap Compactor on our Glitchgo Surveyor. But I think we're fine with that. That's what ends up happening. Yep, and that's what looks like going to happen. Let's go ahead and go to combat for our 2 points of damage. And I do think we are going to need to cycle our Migrating Ketrodon. We just don't really want to be missing all these land drops, and we have a couple big things to play anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and cycle our Ketrodon, hoping that we can find a land off the top. But they didn't take the damage. Interesting. So they were waiting to see if we played something that they wanted to scrap compactor more. But it did give us a speed, which is nice. Alright, we didn't draw land, but we drew something kind of land adjacent. Mana Dork that'll help us tap for some lands on future turns. Nimblethopterist. Alright. Does mean they're going to be able to start poking us with a Thopter. We can just play the Thunderhead Gunner this turn. I think I like that. I think I'm just going to play the Thunderhead Gunner. I'm going to do that by exiling our Ketrodon. You know, Glitchko Surveyor does do something at some point if we keep it in our yard. And I am going to activate this. I don't think we need this Oral Tyrant. So I'm going to go ahead, cycle, and just try to keep finding, you know, things that are going to impact the game a little bit more. Now we do have a Mighty Reach creature. That's useful to block their 1/1 flyer. Alright, they have a Marshal's Path Cruiser. Wow. Alright, they have access to all of their lands. Now, green, red, blue, white, black. Spectral Interference, I think is a pretty good draw here. And I think I'm going to attack with the Ketrodon this turn. Or not the Ketrodon, the Thunderhead Gunner, sorry. I don't see a reason not to. I don't think we need to play our land first either, so I'm going to go ahead and attack with our Thunderhead Gunner. Alright, nice. We did a couple points of damage. This is great for possibly getting Vinwixed online. And the rest of our spells are 2 mana, so I do think I'm going to go ahead and use our Thunderhead Gunner to cycle our land, possibly get something a little bit stronger, which we did. We got Possession Engine. I don't think we need the Possession Engine quite yet, though, so I am going to go ahead and pass it back to our opponent. We really want to get through a point of damage next turn. Getting to speed 4 is really great for Vinwixed. And with a removal spell, I think we may be able to do it. Ride's End. Unfortunately, our Thunderhead Gunner is not still in this world with us. I should have played a little bit slower and considered running over the Nimblethopterist. I am going to Spectral Interference, Sky Serpent. I don't that. But now, unfortunately, I don't have a creature with high enough power and toughness to kill the 3/2. You know, we probably wouldn't have been able to get attacks through anyway, but would have liked the option, I think. I'm just deciding if I want to cycle this Howler's Heavy or not. And I think we're okay to play it as a creature, so I'm not really in a priority to do that. Okay. I think I'm just going to play our Howler's Heavy as a creature. I do want the land this time, because we can still hold up this run over. And like I said, you know, we're really interested in getting this last point of damage. Drawing 2 cards a turn is really very good. So this is interesting. They can make this a large creature at some point with their current mana situation. I think we'll probably hold our possession and that. And I am going to go ahead and cast our run over to kill this Nimblethopterist. It does mean that, you know, no matter what happens next turn, unless they have like Ride's End and they want to Ride's End the Howler's Heavy or something, that we're going to be able to push this last point of damage to get to max speed. And I really value that right now. So with that, I'm going to do exactly what I said. I'm going to make attacks that hopefully do get to push that last point of damage. They can't crew the Velo Heartbike, so I think it's just about exactly Ride's End that would prevent us from getting max speed here. They did end up trading with our Moltender. Great news for us. And now when we go to exile our Glitchko Surveyor, we will draw 2 cards. We do at some point, you know, need to pay attention to our library size, but having extra cards in this position feels pretty great. I think they might just turn their Path Cruiser big creature. Broadcast Rambler. Alright, so vehicle that makes a 1/1. That's fine. Go ahead, draw 2 cards off our Glitchko Surveyor. And then we'll draw 2 cards for turn. And Ranger's Refueler can draw 2 cards. And so I think we're feeling pretty good about our position in terms of card advantage. Okay, so our attacks are not ideal. They do have this broadcast rambler, and so, we don't really have great attacks. The good news is that we do have, pretty decent blocks. We have an 08. If they exhaust this, they do get an 8 power creature, but I think that's okay. So I'm just looking at, we have 6 mana. I do think I'm just going to play the Ranger's Refueler with a plan to exhaust it. With that, we can probably even block the Marshal's Path Cruiser if that is what they end up doing. And then I'll pass it back over to our opponent. We don't really have any great attacks because they can crew with the Broadcast Rambler. Up. Another Nimble Thopterist. We are going to have a lot of little pesky flyers. Voyage home. I think in the end, we're pretty happy just drawing cards for the rest of eternity until we find Riverchurn Monument. And so I think my plan is just going to be with Riverchurn Monument. I'm not going to. That only really bites us in the butt if it's in the bottom couple of cards. I will continue playing to deal damage, but all right, we are at 14 cards. We did draw our Riverchurn Monument. Very useful for us. Gonna go ahead and play that so we can get them to start milling them. And I am gonna play our Nimble Thopterist as well. Just start, clogging up the board, trying to make sure they cannot do any damage, and that we can win through with this Riverchurn Monument. They have 5 cards in their graveyard. Next thing we'd like to find is Pit Automaton. Drawing 2 cards a turn, it is pretty likely to find things. Thunderhead Gunner. Not so bad for us. We still have tons of great blockers, and Thunderhead Gunner just means they're putting more cards in their graveyard and taking more cards out of their deck, which means we're likely to mill them with our Riverchurn Monument. Alright, pass attackers. They're welcome to make and we will go ahead and mill our opponent, specifically not us. We definitely need to be a little concerned about decking. So, right. We drew some more lands, another Nimble Thopterist. I think we will play our starting column this turn. I'm still saving the possession engine for when we really need it. So I'll play starting column. I'm going to play our Thopterist, continue clogging up the board, and then leave up a mana to mill them with Riverchurn Monument. Pass it back over to them. At some point, our board is getting pretty wide. We can consider looking at attacks. I don't think, we're remotely near that point. We would lose a lot of creatures. But, right, Thunderhead Gunner fueling our strategy still. Another Velo Heartbike. We are going to be milling them down to 13 cards. And they'll have 11 cards. Ooh, Perilous Snare. That is a problem. Perilous Snare can't Riverchurn Monument. Yeah, that's not ideal. We will go ahead and mill them in response, especially because we have the chance to deck. We definitely do deck first. See if we have a way that we can kill our own Vinwixt, but don't know if that is Furyfoot. Let's see, if we Possession Engine the Thunderhead Gunner, can we just start making attacks? They have their 5/4. But that's probably okay. As long as we don't really want to activate. Broken Wings would be good if it was in my deck. I do think we need to get kind of aggressive in an attempt to make attacks. I do think I'm going to Possession Engine this Thunderhead Gunner It's just a big card. Um, and it having reach makes it so, our Thopters can't even attack and trade, which not ideal. I still don't feel great about attacks, but we do have a good amount of blockers. So I think I'm just going to make some pretty aggressive attacks because I don't really think we have outs in our deck. Feels like the best way to. They can eat some number of these creatures, but I think we need to just be okay with that. Make attacks like this. I would really like to play the Stampeding Scurryfoot. I kind of hope this Ranger's Refueler dies. I don't want to draw cards when I exhaust, and I'd like to exhaust my Stampeding Scurryfoot. So ideal situation for me here, I think, would be if they block in a way that kills my Ranger's Refueler. Like they're... Okay, they're trying to block the other one. Thopters are trading. This all makes sense. Just 7 damage, which is not nothing. Alright, they are trading with the Ranger's Refueler. Alright, these are good for us. I'm super happy they're trading with the Ranger's Refueler. This clears a lot of their board. A lot of their creatures are vehicles, and it means that we are going to be able to pretty profitably get attacks. I'm not going to activate the Thunderhead Gunner unless we really need to, and I am going to pass with a plan to exhaust the Scurryfoot. I guess I could have done that on the following turn and played the Glitchko Surveyor, but the 3/3 is a bigger attacker. The flyer was probably better. We probably should have played this glitch. I think that was a small oversight. I'm feeling decent about our spot, though. It seems like we might be able to kill them before they can kind of deal with this. They do have Wooburg to turn their Path Cruiser into a creature, which is a little annoying, but not the end of the world. And at some point, we will hopefully find a way to deal with the fact that our Vinwix is drawing us 2 cards a turn. Alright, so I anticipate them turning their Path Cruiser into a creature, which can block just about anything. That means I don't really want to attack with the Possession Engine. The rest of our attacks, I think, are pretty decent. They're going to eat 1 creature, and I think that's okay. What are you pushing down? Lands are mid-X. There's 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, so a lot of our deck is land still. Means we don't have a lot of gas. A little concerning. I think maybe I do want to play more cards this turn. I think I am going to draw some cards with the Thunderhead Gunner. It is a little spooky. Can't lie to you, but okay. Scrap Compactor, super useful going into these attacks. So I think I'm going to play the Compactor, and then we can now crew the Possession Engine and attack with it, because if they turn the Path Cruiser into a creature, we are just going to kill it. And they don't really have great anyway. Do that and go ahead and attack with all of our creatures that have power. Siphon Fuel. That is annoying. Not something I quite thought about. Thankfully, they are getting their Thunderhead Gunner back tapped. Not the end of the world. 6 cards in our library. Damage, okay. So with going to damage, I don't think we need to activate our Compactor this turn. I'm going to go ahead and just play all of our cards and attempt to push as much damage as humanly possible. I'm going to leave our Night Market back as an optional, like, discard or something, I think, is a land. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Happened 12, 13. So there are 4 lands left. They played Haunt the Network. It's rather annoying. Sky Serpent Seeker is not really something we want to do. Trying to have some idea. They do only have access to 4 mana, which means they cannot activate the Path Cruiser. They can crew it. I think we just need to be okay with. I want to continue making aggressive attacks, I think. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 mana sources, so we can activate the Scurryfoot if we kill the gunner. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Try to keep going wide. You know, we are going to mill ourselves out. I think killing the gunner gives us a better chance of winning this game than killing our Vinwixt. I think we just really want to be aggressive with our attacks. I think they're deciding to crew something. Totally fine. 5. Let's tap them out of an additional creature. Nice. With that, we will go to combat. And I don't really care if they kill our Thunderhead Gunner, so we're just going to attack with everything that has power. I am also going to attack with this Vinwixt. You know, I don't think it's blocking, and I'd rather give them the chance to make an error than... I guess leaving it back meant they couldn't attack. But I don't know if we're the ones concerned about that here. Alright, they are just blocking as much damage as possible. That makes a lot of sense. It looks like we're going to get through 6 if we activate our Stampeding Scurryfoot. And I think that is the best we're getting, so I am going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and play our Night Market. You know, literally no chance we can cycle it, so might as well put another over. Okay, so not going to get our additional 2, but we will get our Elephant. Not so bad for us. Not feeling incredible. Oh, we already played a land. Because they can pay for this Path Cruiser, but it's still not clear they know that, to be honest. Like, it, you know, lights up a bright color. Okay, so we have one more turn. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So one of our last 2 cards are lands. I think we have no options in this game but to keep being aggressive with our attacks and, you know, hope it gets there. So we'll go ahead and do that. Not looking great for us, but no, they do only they get to block 2 creatures and they can't kill one of them. So we push 5 damage this turn, puts them to 8. And we're looking at 4 damage in the air, so it doesn't look like the end of the world. No reason to cycle the Night Market. We'll go ahead and keep. And we will be able to activate. This does reveal cards. It does not draw them. So we will be able to activate our Sky Serpent Seeker next turn. So, you know, they're really looking to put... They need 3 blockers next turn. And, you know, it's looking to me like they have that. And we did know the rest of our deck if we spent some time about it. But it just doesn't look to me like they will be able to stop this. And frankly, no, there's nothing we can do if they can. So let's go ahead and make our attacks. Hope they can't do anything about it. We'll activate our Sky Serpent Seeker for, you know, our additional points of damage. And it looks like with 0 cards in library, we were able to get there. I'm really proud of my decision to start attacking the second that they took care of our Riverchurn Monument. You know, we kind of pretty successfully acknowledged that we weren't going to be able to win the game unless we did that. And so I am very happy about that decision. I am going to go ahead and put this Broken Wings in my deck. I think Broken Wings is definitely a slightly better card in Sealed, and I kind of just want the option, you know. Maybe it is part of the game we just played, but it is an option I think I'd like to have. I'm going to cut one of these Thopterists. I don't think that card is crazy impressive, and with that, I will see you guys for the next match. All right, here we are. We are playing against Slack, so we're playing against a fellow PT competitor, Moto Grinder, who is trying to win some boxes today. Slacks is on the play. We have 3 lands and a starting column, so we can play our Thunderhead Gunner on turn 4. And we have our Stampeding Scurryfoot to play early. Can possibly cycle our Ketchudon, but I don't really like cycling it when it looks like we're going to be able to cast it. And, you know, we're not too far off with our starting column. So unless we really need earlier, like if Slacks' deck is super aggressive or something, I don't think We're going to need to cycle the Ketrodon, but I will consider it if it feels like we need more plays early. Right, our opponent has kept a hand of 7 cards. I am going to go ahead and keep ours. Play our Scurryfoot on turn 1 and pass it over. Of course, Slacks has no little guy. All right, Ranger Refueler. That is a great card, but I think we're okay with it. And I'm definitely happy to, play our starting column into Thunderhead Gutter into Ketrodon. That feels like a super strong play pattern. So I'm not at all concerned about cycling our Ketrodon here. Buccaneer, okay. Definitely a pretty strong play pattern we've got here. Probably dealing 3 points of damage to us. Unless Lex really wants to protect himself from this 1/1. But just lots of really great cards. Ranger's Refueler is super strong. With Keen Buccaneer, it'll draw cards. Thankfully, we do have, a couple of very strong cards that'll likely help us. It's interesting to see all of these exhaust abilities in a deck that is currently Esper colors. We will take our 3 points of damage. Vinwixt. Well, Vinwixt is definitely not nothing. It is an 0/4, which is nice, but I don't think I am going to be spending any of my time blocking. I am going to go ahead, attack for 1. It'll give us our little speed there, which could possibly matter a lot with this Vinwixt over here. All right, we are going to take a bit of damage here. Slacks has drawn a lot of cards and is dealing a lot of damage, but I think we'll be able to stabilize with our Thunderhead Gunner Ketrodon combo that we have here. Unfortunately, our Scurryfoot cannot sneak in that 1 point of damage. And I don't really think we need to discard and draw with the Thunderhead Gunner. We could consider discarding a land. Oh, that's so rude. Alright, well, Slacks will be taking our Thunderhead Gunner. Very, very strong play patterns here. Oh, 6 points of damage. I think I'm just going to keep taking it. We are going to gain 4, which should hopefully help us stabilize. And now that I drew that land, I kind of wish we did activate the Ketrodon, or the Thunderhead Gunner. But can't plan for everything. Play our Ketrodon, and hopefully this is enough to slow Slacks down. I don't think that means, we're going to be able to come back in this game in any sort of way. Slacks just super ahead on cards, super ahead on value, super ahead on board, kind of all of the above, and has able to kill our Ketrodon. So unfortunately, we are dead. Super strong play patterns on the play. We were a little slow, so not much we could do there. I will see you guys for the next game. All right, here we are for game number 4. I think, against my better judgment, I'm considering keeping this. We do have starting columns, so we really only need 1 more land, and then we have all our sources. And Pit Automaton is just an awesome card. I do think I'm going to keep this. It's definitely close. But with Pit Automaton being a good blocker and really only needing to draw 1 land, I think we can give this a shot. All right, our opponent did mulligan. They're thinking about their life. I'm tired. Today, this is the same day that I spent recording all of the Tarkir set review. So the Tarkir set review does reference that surprise from Monday I was talking about, and I don't want to spoil the surprise early, and I don't think anybody involved would have wanted me to spoil the surprise early, so rather than spoil surprises, I'm not going to post that till Monday. All right, awesome. Drawing this was a great use of cards. So I am going to post this video tomorrow, which is Sunday, and then the set review will start going live on Monday. I did a set review with Ryan Condon. Ryan is great. A+ player, great in theory, and we work pretty well together, and so I could not have picked somebody better to go ahead and do the set review with. What's interesting about this play is we can still cycle our Howlers Heavy because Pit Automaton can pay for the cycling, which is a nice little tidbit. And then I think it'll be like 2 colors a day. So I think on Monday it'll release. We did the signpost uncommons first, as a way to kind of look at the set. Target artifact. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and tap this for mana. Before they switch phases, I am going to cycle this Howler's Heavy. It's gonna prevent a couple points of damage, which is good. We want to kind of be able to stabilize, and good use of our mana. I am gonna go ahead and just play this Thunderhead Gunner, and I am gonna start activating it right away. We started with 2 lands, and we have drawn only lands, so not as fun as OnlyFans. I'm gonna go ahead and start pitching these lands. Hopefully it can keep some gas in our hands. You guys like that? It was all these rhymes. All right, Lotus Guard Disciple. The flyer likely means, they're gonna gain a couple of life points here. They can consider, I guess, attacking with both. My guess is they really want speed. And I think I'm, fine taking the 3 points of damage and going ahead and getting this nesting bot to be a servo. Riverchurn Monument. This card's great. We all knew that. Unfortunately, they did get rid of our automaton, but that's okay. Considering if I want to discard any cards, I think we're only going to be playing on the defensive. So this turn, I think my plan is to play a Riverchurn Monument and Kaelorna Coral Tyrant. It's just a great blocker. And I don't think I'm upset about any of the cards I have. I think I would just rather have cards than lands, and so I am not going to discard. And with that, I'm going to pass back. Riverchurn Monument is a very easy way to win this game, and so rather than attacking with our Thunderhead Gunner, I'm just going to be super safe, keep all my blockers back, really try to invalidate as many of their attacks as possible, really force them to answer our Thunderhead Gunner just to attack for 2, and that should hopefully buy us enough time to fill them out with our Riverchurn Monument here. Adrenaline Jockey. Whenever a player casts their spell, I'm going to remember this. I forgot about this in one of our recent drafts. It does not look like it is particularly scary here. Especially since we don't have spells to cast on our opponent's turn. We'll go ahead and mill them for 2. Okay. And then like I said, I just want to play cards. I'd rather be on the defensive. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of our extra lands. I think we have plenty of mana sources at this point. And same thing, I'm going to pass back over. I could cast this second Glitchko Surveyor, but I value milling with this monument every turn a little bit higher than that. The second Glitchko Surveyor, not really changing anything about this board state. We're still going to make some number of blocks, like if they attack with the flyers, use one of the 0/0s, and if we take a couple points of damage this turn, it is not the end of the world. So I am going to go ahead and make some blocks here. I could consider, I think actually instead I'm going to block this 1/1. It does deal 1 more point of damage to us this turn, but it means that I can play the other Glitchko Surveyor next turn, and it kind of makes their attacks with their 3/3s not great, because we have 2 2/2s to block them. And so I am going to go ahead and block like that, and we'll go ahead and mill our opponent, getting rid of a Ride's End. That's definitely useful. All right, Broken Wings is pretty good here. It can kill both the Sundial Tyrant and the Lotus Guard Disciple. I do need to remember that if I do it on their turn, I'm going to take a whopping 4 points of damage, which is not really where I want to be. But I just deciding if I'd rather kill something than mill, and I think I can wait to play Broken Wings until next turn and just use the mana to mill them. Aether Jacket. All right, that's a way to answer our Riverchurn Monument. Don't love that. See if they make any attacks. We can Broken Wings. I'm kind of glad we saved the Broken Wings now. All right, let's pass to blockers. I am going to go ahead and kill this Adrenaline Jockey so that we don't have to stress too much about it. And we can consider using the Broken Wings end of turn. But I think, given that we are going to kill this Aether Jacket and our monument will survive, I'm just going to continue on our ventures here to mill our opponent. All right, let's utilize this Broken Wings, get rid of this Aether Jacket. And now we are in a pretty great position. We have Scrap Compactor to deal with another creature. And we have Mana to Mill with Riverchurn Monument. We can block their flyer and their 3/3. And so, it doesn't look like we're super scared of their board currently. Scrap Compact or Broadcast Rambler. It's going to make a 1/1 and a pretty big creature and a 5/4, but with Scrap Compactor, I am not terribly worried. Our opponent is considering making any attacks. Alright, looks like they do want to trade in the air, and, I see no reason to continue taking damage. I will block this. It does mean they can start poking us for 1 in the air if they so wish. But if we Scrap Compactor and kill the 1/1, it kind of takes away their ability to even do the 1 point of damage. And they are nearing, 18 cards in library, 14 cards in their graveyard. They're nearing death here. Scrap Compactor will put a 15th card, and then we're milling them 16, 17, and they're gonna have 17 after they draw. So, I'm feeling pretty good about the position of the game here. Let's go ahead, and I believe we'll just pass it over to our opponent. We can block the 5/4 with the Tyrant. We can Scrap Compactor to kill the smaller creature. The reason I'm considering killing the smaller creature is because it does leave us enough mana to with the monument. And 17 cards, 15, 16, 17 means we can exhaust on their turn. So this is their last turn of the game, unless they have an answer to Riverchurn Monument this turn or can kill us this turn. And they would need to be able to do that through the Scrap Compactor. And that just does not seem likely. All right, they are going to crew their Broadcast Rambler. Problem. Attackers. Cast blocks. Block this. They do not have enough mana to activate this Prowlcatcher. I am going to go ahead and just kill. Yeah. They could have a trick that gives +X+O. There is also Light Shield parity. Neither of those things kill us, though, so I am going to go ahead and activate the Compactor now. Feels a little safer to kill it. We'll take the 2, and then from there, our opponent will be out of cards in library. And we will mill them out with Riverchurn Monument once again. I love Riverchurn Monument. This card is just so much fun to play. Milling your opponents in limited is such a great feeling. Alright, this does mean they have less cards in their library than they have in their graveyard. Go ahead, exhaust our Riverchurn Monument, and that will be the end of the game. I will see you guys for the next one. Okay, here we are for match number 5. We are on the play, and unfortunately, don't think this hand is good enough. We do have good mana sources, but our removal is pretty awkward. This one requires a creature, which we don't have. And so I do think we're going to need to mulligan for something a little better, and this is definitely that hand. We have a nice turn 1 play, Possession Engine, a starting column to get there. Just need to decide what we're going to bottom. I'm definitely keeping the Scurryfoot, and I don't really think I want to get rid of our Glitchko Surveyor. I think I'm going to get rid of the starting column. I don't... we're going to want to spend our turn 2 playing our turn 3 playing our Glitchko Surveyor. And so, we're not going to have a great turn to play starting column. And, we can get a similar effect of starting column from just some lands. They are going to go ahead. They've got a Guidelight Optimizer. Does mean we are probably not attacking, and that is okay. Play our Glitchko Surveyor, and we'll pass back over to them. I am anticipating them just using the Scrap Compactor here to kill the Scurryfoot. Oh, Pactol Terror. Okay, so they didn't do that. Not that Pactol Terror is good for us, but we will likely take it with Possession Engine, and it does mean that we get exactly 1 turn to get our value out of Scurryfoot. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on our turn. I just don't want to think about doing it in response and screwing it up. Walking Sarcophagus will put them up to hit it with a ping, and they do have the Scrap Compactor up, so I am going to just go ahead and take the Pactol Terror. I do think I'm going to use Possession Engine this turn to take it. I kind of want to have a Pactol Terror. I don't know. I value having my own Pactol Terror. So I'm going to take that Pactol Terror. Hopefully we can start using it for good on our side instead of our opponent using it for their silly games over there. Oh, and they are going to bounce it to their hand. That's okay. I am not terribly upset about that. We do have this possession engine that will be able to attack freely, and we have scrap compactor and run over, so we will have ways to answer this Pact Altair. And I don't think I feel the need to like give them free attacks by attacking with the Scurryfoot. We get pretty good attacks here with just these two. And so I'm gonna leave the Scurryfoot back. Just feels like it'll protect our life total a fair bit here. I'm anticipating them just playing the Pact Altair again. Yep. As anticipated, draining us for 1. And I don't think there is a removal spell they can play here. So I am going to go ahead and I think run over the Pact Altair now. I just don't really want to risk anything interrupting that. We could also consider making attacks first, but I don't think I want to. So we'll go ahead and run over the Pact Altair. And I am going to play the Scrap Compactor now. The reason I'm doing this is, if they had like a double block or something, I could use my Scrap Compactor to kill one of those things. I could have left the Scurryfoot back, but I feel like we really are the aggressor now, especially attacking for 5 every turn. And so I'm just going to attack with everything. And I think I'm going to leave the land in my hand in case I draw like Thunderhead Gunner or something. We just don't really have use for the land right now. And we may want to discard it later. They are going to take a trade here. No problem with me. I'm definitely considering just killing this walking sarcophagus, but even with it being a 3/3, I think I'm kind of unconcerned if they have it. We can kill it as a 3/3 too. So I'm gonna let them keep it. Go ahead, take 2. It means that if they play something more threatening, we can save our scrap compactor for that. I probably will clear their board if they just pass. It's decently mana efficient. We could have saved it and played our land and then, been able to destroy anything. But this really puts a lot of pressure on our opponent. Ooh, Ranger's Refueler. Okay, I am going to play our land. That's because I'm going to play this Ranger's Refueler and exhaust it. Exhausting it, super great. It's going to draw us a card, and it is going to make a 4/4 creature. And the reason I'm doing this pre-combat is so that I can use it to crew our possession engine. Alright, so they are going to just destroy our possession engine in response. We will not get the opportunity to crew it, but we do have our creature. We are putting them down to a measly 3 life points, and with their 3 cards, I think they are going to need a good amount here to get out of this situation. They did get decent blocks on the ground, but we do still have our 2/2 flyer, and I'm fine trading our elephant. So just keep up the pressure. Play a land since we have 2 of them. Pass it back, and now they need to be able to both block our Ranger's Refueler and answer our Glitch Ghost Surveyor. And that is a way to do it. I guess they didn't want to keep playing anyway, but I will see you guys for the next one. So I am starting this next game a little early prior to seeing our hand. To let you guys know that I didn't mention the gem prize support. If you don't get to the 6 wins, we did at this point now hit where we get gems. So we got 2,000 gems for that win, and if we get this win, we get 5,000 gems, which is enough to buy into another one of these. And so that's pretty cool. Our hand is all blue. Looks like there's no other colors in our deck, but we have a starting column to fix for them. We already have our Riverchurn Monument, and we know how well that goes. And we have a Cycler in Howler's Heavy to help us find an additional land, and so I think I'm going to keep this. Play our island and pass it over. We do also have a couple of nice 3-drops for when we find exactly 1 more land. And so I am not going to play our Riverchurn Monument this turn. I think if we draw the land, then I want a starting column, or I want to be able to use it to mill with Riverchurn Monument. I do think I'm going to just play our Riverchurn Monument. If we don't draw our land, then we can cycle the Howler's Heavy on our turn. It's not the end of the world, and I think the upside of playing this turn is much higher if we do draw land. We did draw our land, which is nice and convenient. I am going to play our starting column. This will help us, continue kind of ramping to mill with Riverchurn Monument. And then the consideration here is if I want to play the Molt Tender, or if I just want to start milling them. And I think I'm just going to start milling them. Um, we might have a Moltender this turn. If we don't draw another land, then we can play Glitchko Surveyor next turn and mill. I think in case we don't draw another land, I am going to play this Moltender now. It does mean that we don't get to start milling with Riverchurn Monument until next turn, but I think Moltender just is going to give us enough access to our lands to continue playing the game. They did cast Perilous Snare, so we have lost access to our Riverchurn Monument, which is unfortunate, but we do know that we have an answer in our deck for it now. We do already have our speed. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack for 1. And I do like using Howler's Heavy as a cycler, so I'm going to go ahead and start playing our flyers. These are going to help us get our speed for, you know, if we get Vinwix or something, or if we want to exile them to gain 3 life. Flyers are just, you know, typically slightly better attackers, while they do a little bit less damage. Okay. So we do not have a card in our yard to cast the Ketrodon this turn, which is a little unfortunate, but I think that's okay. I chose to do a point of damage last turn instead of milling. Not sure that was correct. I am going to go ahead and attack for 2 in the air. Continue working on our speed, continue doing damage, and I do think I'm going to save our Moltender to mill a card. And I am going to play another Glitchko Surveyor. They did play a bike, so if they play a creature, they're going to be able to animate that, and that'll block our Howler's Heavy pretty well, and I just don't want to give them that option. I want to continue attacking them in the air. It feels like a pretty good stance to take from here, and we have our Howler's Heavy as kind of a fun combat trick that we have access to. They're playing their own Ketrodon, which is rather rude, but I guess I can't complain given I have one too. I will mill with our Moltender. This will give us enough mana to cast our Ketrodon. It will pass it back over to us. We did draw the forest, so I don't need to exile the card from my graveyard. And I think I will go with just that. I'm going to play our Ketrodon. It does mean that next turn, you know, we can attack with our Ketrodon, and we're cooler than them because we've got this cool combat trick. Whether that's exactly what we do or not is unclear, but it is an option, and I just don't want to lose our flyers. If we did attack with our flyers, we would lose one of them to get to max speed, which we could definitely consider, especially given that they exile to draw cards. But I just wasn't super interested in doing that this time. They're playing Transit Mage, which is pretty scary. You know, there's a lot of good artifacts they can search. Hull Drifter, definitely not the scariest of them. Uh-oh, looks like they have run over. Oh, that's not good for us. It does mean that, you know, we really have no attacks, and Howler's Heavy is not helping us. And our own run over will not assist us either, so I'm kind of hoping we find Broken Wings. Thunderhead Gunner, great card. I am going to go ahead and play it. We do have enough mana to cycle this Howler's Heavy, which is kind of the same as activating Thunderhead Gunner, and so I'm going to wait and keep this as a trick in case I want it. We're playing a Hull Drifter, drawing some cards. They've definitely got value, but I don't think it is the end of the world for us. Looks like they might have a spell for our Thunderhead Gunner. Maybe not. Attacking for 6? They are attacking for 6. I am going to go ahead and double block. We do have our Howler's Heavy as an answer. And there are not a lot of options for spells that they can have here. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. If it solves, you know, it is unfortunate if we get blown out, but if it solves the Ketrodon for us, I think that is really good for us. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. It looks like it worked. You know, I don't know if they possibly have another card that kills the Thunderhead Gunner, but it didn't kill it now, and so I'm feeling pretty good now that they no longer have their Tetradon in play. Veteran Beast Rider. Okay. That untaps things, and definitely not ideal, but is not the end of the world. Okay, so unfortunately we don't really get good attacks with our Glitchko Surveyor still. If we attack with it, they will crew the Hull Drifter and block. But I think maybe we are supposed to do that anyway, especially since it gives us the opportunity of getting to max speed here. And we have a reach creature to block the Hull Drifter, but our Glitchko Surveyor will never be able to attack when they have mana up to give it +1/+1. And so I do think I'm going to go ahead and attack for 2 in the air. The most likely answer is it trades with this Hull Drifter, and I think that needs to be something that we are okay with here. That's an okay trade, I think. Right, they are going to take this trade. I do not want to have any more lands. I want to stop flooding. I want to just draw gas from here on out. We did draw another land. I think I am uninterested in playing it. I'm going to leave it just to use it with our Thunderhead Gunner possibly later. They do have access to 8 mana, which means their attacks are going to get relatively scary. They can pump twice, which is not so scary given their current board. We do have pretty good blocks even with 2 pumps. But them getting to max speed and turning on their Perilous Snare is something I'm a little bit scared of. I wouldn't say that I'm, unfazed by it. Rise from the wreck. Well, that is pretty good for our opponent. Not what I wanted to see. It does look like they can go ahead and play the Ketradon again. Not really where I want it to be, but okay. I think we are doing fine. They're the Veilhard bike. I guess because everything untaps, they're doing it for fun. This does. I guess if it only untaps creatures, they can do this to get an extra mana. Let's go ahead and exhaust our Ranger's Refueler. Draw a card. We'd like to draw some non-land cards, please. And with that, it is. Oh, I guess I should have milled. Oh, well, I'm glad I did not. Possession Engine, a great card here. It gets rid of this pesky Ketradon if that's what we want to do with it. It can also give us the Beast Rider, which is super useful. It kind of takes a lot of pressure off of us. But I don't think with my board the way it currently is, I'm super scared of the Beast Rider. I'm going to go ahead and use our Thunderhead Gunner now. Just see if it changes any of our opinions and, got more lands. So if we Possession Engine the Ketradon now, they will crew the bike in response, and then we don't really have great attacks. But I also don't want to lose our Gunner, which is I think what we would need to do to block the Ketradon. Also activate the Beast Rider. I think I want to take the Beast Rider. I'm not certain this is correct, but we do have access to 2 white sources with Molt Tender and Starting Column. And so I think we may be able to start applying the kind of pressure I was just talking about by taking the Beast Rider ourselves. They didn't crew in response, which is interesting. They gave it to it untapped. It would tap in the end step anyway, but neither here nor there, I guess. We have untapped all of our creatures. Now we have a useful effect, which is definitely nice. It does mean that I will probably take 1 hit from the Ketradon, but they are still at 1, and that's if they decide to attack. And I'm not sure they want to do that, so I don't think I like our decision to take the Beast Rider. Alright, they are getting through their deck. Not putting any more cards in their graveyard for when we get our Riverchurn Monument, but if they only have so many cards in their library, then it doesn't so much. Alright, so Canyon Vaulter is a little spooky. It gives their vehicles and things flying. Hull Drifter does already have flying, but we have our Thunderhead Gunner, which has reach. So I think as long as they don't have an answer for Thunderhead Gunner, we are okay with this. If they get an answer for it, I'm going to be a little disappointed. But it is not the end of the world. Scrap Compactor is a great draw. Again, I don't want any more land, so I'm going to go ahead and discard our land to get another card. Hit Automaton. That's a good one. So we have 6, 7, 8 mana. So I was considering we could play our Scrap Compactor and hold up 2 pumps of the veteran Beast Rider. But if we play the Compactor, then we can't pump twice. I think I'm considering just playing the Scrap Compactor. So what did I say? We had 6, 7, 8 mana. We can play both of these cards. And then we can't activate. the compactor for 6 if that was what we wanted to do. The true 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So wouldn't be able to activate this, but I think I want to get the pit automaton in play anyway. So I'm gonna play the pit automaton. I'm going to play the compactor to kind of be as mana efficient as we can, and then I'm not going to attack this turn, but we do have 1 pump held up if that is something. This will help us pay for future pumps. It's one of the reasons I like getting it into play here. They did hover Beast Rider. Don't love when they hover. Now they're hovering Gunner. More things I don't like. But they want to trade. Well, you see, I don't really want. Okay, I don't remember how this card works. Exchange control of target artifact or creature and target. So if that creature doesn't exist, can they still trade? I don't think so. I'm gonna try to Google this really fast. I think they need to have a creature. Trade the helm with spell. Oh, I'm running out of time. Gatherer. Please have it. If one of the targets is an illegal target when it resolves, the exchanges won't happen. Okay, sold. So I am going to go ahead and attempt to kill this transit mage in response to keep our Thunderhead Gunner. I just really don't want them to get it. And according to the other ruling I just read, we will keep our Thunderhead Gunner. That's how it reads. But you never, especially when you're playing for stakes, you know, I always say in paper, you should always call a judge. You would rather know that you are definitely sure than even bother risking it. And I am glad we did that here. Now we know we are not really in any danger of them having our Thunderhead Gunner. We have a Stampeding Scurryfoot. I am definitely fine playing this card. Deciding what I want to do here. So we do have access to more mana now that Veteran Beast Rider can tap for our Pit Automaton. I'm considering attacking with our Ranger's Refueler. I don't really want to risk losing our Thunderhead Gunner, but you know, if the best block they have on this is the Ketrodon, and I'm willing to spend a bunch of mana just trading with it this turn. And so I think, oh well, we do get to draw a card if we just play the Scurryfoot. And we can copy its ability to get extra 3/3s. So I actually think I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and play our Stampeding Scurryfoot with a plan to copy the exhaust ability and get 2 3/3s. I am going to go ahead and do this now because my Pit Automaton will untap. And I think that is notable. We'll go ahead and activate our Stampeding Scurryfoot. You know, we are getting to the point where we are going to start running out of cards in our deck, and I don't really want to risk that, so I am not going to mill with the Molt Tender. You know, we did have that option, but I don't feel need to. And now we've got, you know, pretty big board, lots of things to do, and I feel pretty good about that. You know, as we keep playing these long games, if we do end up getting our Riverchurn Monument back, at some point, you know, hopefully Broken Wings is not too far down in our deck, then we will be in a pretty good position. They did get an Aghanosar Rex, which is an 8/8, so all of our, you know, lovely plans to pump and make attacks have been soiled, but that is okay. We did get another Scurryfoot. I am happy, I think, to play an additional Thunderhead Gunner. You're getting to the point where they do have a lot of options in the air. Yeah. We tap our Molt Tender for green. We can get 1 additional mana. So we have 6, 7, 8. We play this for the green. It will untap. And then we have the Automaton and Stampeding Scurryfoot is 6 mana. I guess leaving up mana doesn't do very much for us here. This does draw us more cards. I think as it draws us cards, I am going to go ahead and use the Molt Tender to cast the Scurryfoot. That way it will untap, and we do possibly draw mana in such a way where we would consider casting a spell with a land on their turn, because we will have 3 mana available. So I'm going to go ahead and do what we just did. Draw a card, make a bunch more 3/3s. It does specifically give us the mana for Broken Wings if we drew a land. We did not draw a land, but that is okay. We've got a pretty massive board here. And I think our opponent's plan is still to, or is to try to get us run out of cards. But unfortunately for them, there is somewhere in our deck a Riverchurn Monument, or a Broken Wings to get back our Riverchurn Monument. And the more cards we go into our deck, better it is for us. At some point, I can just make a big attack, hoping to trade off some things and get their yard a little bit bigger. Oh, Ranger's Ether Hive. That is a spooky card for sure. You have enough mana to play it, but it doesn't look like they have any exhaust effects, so it's not so scary. It's not like us where we, have copied our exhaust effects and done a bunch of things with our exhaust effects every turn. Right, us. I have no desire to have another land. Let's go ahead and discard it. I would like to get our Broken Wings like kind of ASAP. Reason being that I do not want to not have enough time to mill them with Riverchurn Monument. I am going to go ahead and activate our other Thunderhead Gunner. This 08 is, not really helping us with our board state here. If we can find Broken Wings, I would prefer to play that, but we do not. Consider looking at, I guess, we are getting to the point where our board is so wide that we could consider making like a really big attack with just some pumps with this Veteran Beast card. Definitely not a bad idea. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creatures on our opponent's side of the field. And 1, 2, 3. This one can't attack or block 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 creatures that can attack on our side. And then we can crew the Possession Engine, which does risk giving them back the Beast Rider, especially with this 8/8. Oh, Tension Chariot, not what we wanted to see. Them getting their Beast Rider back, not great for us. My guess is that is the best thing for them to take is this Possession Engine. I really would like Broken Wings kind of as soon as possible. Have exactly enough mana to cast this Detention Chariot this turn. I am highly considering just making a big attack to try to find our Broken Wings. We really just needed to not be bottom. Activating Sky Serpent Seeker can give us an idea of, oh, I didn't play my land. I would have been able to activate it if I did. If we needed to be nervous. They didn't play the Detention Chariot, which is interesting. So I'm thinking I just want to make a big attack. So let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 mana. 10, 11 with Pit Automaton, and 12 with the Moltender, but we do only have access to 2 white within that. So we can only pump twice. They have 6 creatures, and we have 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that would be attacking. I don't really want to use the Possession Engine, I don't think. Alright, let's go ahead and make some pretty aggressive. Maybe there's just no reason. I think maybe there's no reason. I'm not gonna attack. I'm talking myself out of it. I'm a little too. We do get to see kind of our entire deck by copying the exhaust effect from Sky Serpent Seeker. And I value that pretty highly, knowing where our Broken Wings is. Especially given that they really are getting to the point where they have very little cards left. They are holding their Detention Chariot, which is concerning. Because if we Broken Wings, they have the Detention Chariot to play it. But if we can get them to the point where, we can just play the Monument. Right now, we do mill them twice. So I think Monument, if we get it back, we just win. Because it'll mill them their graveyard the first time, which is 4, and then the second time, which is their deck. So we do just need to find Broken Wings, and the game's over. And we have a number of ways with these exhaust things to draw cards and see our deck to find it. You know, we have 2 Thunderhead Gunners. Let's go ahead and copy our exhaust ability and activate the exhaust ability on our Sky Serpent Seeker. You know, Detention Chariot is not instant speed, so run over. I didn't see how broken wings. Oh, they go down in a random order. So, oh, this is really confusing. Which order did we do this in? Like, are the bottom ones the first ones? Did we get like these 2 first? I have no idea what just happened. Which one of these is broken wings? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter as long as we have enough mana and we can get it even if it's our bottom card, we can get it. I hope I'm right. I think I'm right. I hope it's true. All right. All right, there's broken wings. We can cast the broken wings on the perilous snare. Get back our Riverchurn Monument. Activate our pit automaton to exhaust our opponent. Copying the exhaust ability, and this should be enough. Oh, thankfully we do have 1 card left in our deck. If we didn't, we would have decked to Ranger's Refueler. But I didn't get screwed there. So, you know, card for card. 0 cards left in library. We have won the match. That was a phenomenal game. Well played, Yumoon. All right. I am going to take a breather probably before we start the next one. That one was super close. And now we are playing for our boxes. So I will see you guys for the last game. Okay, here we are for our last match with our pretty cool Teamer sealed deck. We are on the play. We have all of our colors, a Sky Serpent Seeker, Vinwix, and Corona, and Thunderhead Gunner. This hand looks great to me. I am going to go ahead and keep it. And I will play my Rugged Highlands on turn 1. And then I am planning on playing my Sky Serpent Seeker. I didn't talk through my turn, but I'm planning on playing Sky Serpent Seeker here. Reason being is that I can play Vinwix to start my engines next turn. And then when I attack for 1 in the air, you know, flyers just do a pretty good job, I think, of helping you get your speed. And so I'm going to go ahead, start my speed with my Vinwix here and attack for 1 just to try to get to max speed, start drawing some cards. They do need 1 additional mana to exhaust this, so we do also get a pretty good block here, which is nice. Go ahead and play our land. I do think our Sky Serpent Seeker will be exhausting this turn. I'm going to go ahead and make an attack. And if we're going to exhaust anyway, no, I think I'm just going to let this happen. This maybe means that they try to use a removal spell or something on it in the end step. You know, they didn't do anything with their 3 mana there, and I think that is pretty good for us. Where if I exhausted it, maybe they felt the need to remove it in response. Alright, see if they're planning on attacking for 4 this turn. They are welcome to. I have no problems with that if that is what they would like to do. I will go ahead and take it. You know, them attacking for 4, they possibly could just have me take 2. That's totally reasonable. We can't block because of the Vinwix. We don't want it to die. They would definitely spend 4 mana to kill it. But one of his creatures saddles or super so it's this card. Okay. Alright, so they did play a 3/3, which is fine. We will go ahead, exhaust, get some lands. And you know, now I'm feeling pretty good. We have a 6. We're going to play our 7th land for turn, which means we can play our Thunderhead Gunner and our Tyrant this turn. We are going to be going to max speed and we can start drawing. So I'm going to make sure that I attack and go to max speed before I play my Thunderhead Gunner. And then I'm probably playing this Calcorna, this Octopus. But I'm going to discard a card and draw some cards first to see if there's maybe something else I want to do. Ooh, like maybe I want to hold up the Spectral Interference instead. Yeah, I think I like holding it up instead. You know, this is the early game is when you want to play this card, and when they don't have so many lands that they are just going to be able to counter it like they did get to that point in the last game. And we do already have good blocks, and so we don't really need this 08 to be an additional blocker. Hello, Luna. Baby? How's it going? Mommy's playing for boxes. Crash and burn, okay. Go ahead and we'll block as much of the damage as we can. Arvenwix. Draw some more cards, and I think we're feeling pretty good. We have lots of cards. Taking the Velocitor with our possession engine is kind of disgusting. Let's see, we have 5, 6, 7, 8 lands. I think I want to do that. It's just so gross. It makes it a 7/5 with trample when we crew. And I think with that we kind of are the aggressor. I am not really concerned about taking 4 damage from this Prowl Catcher if that is what they do. And they've decided they don't want to see it anyway. So, our first Arena Direct on the channel, we sealed, built this really cool teamer deck. We did manage to get our 2 Aether Drift boxes, so that's pretty exciting. They have had hit or miss with how long it takes them generally to ship them to people, but I think it's okay. Broken Wings is something I would definitely play in sealed. I often choose to not play it in draft, but in sealed, like, it really was a removal spell for something in almost all of the games. And especially with, the amount of the removal spells that it could hit, it was just a super valuable card to have. I think this deck was great. I definitely would splash these Thunderhead Gunners again. If you watch these games, Thunderhead Gunner put in so much work. Like from the discarding cards to the reach, it frequently was the most impactful card on the battlefield. And so I'm super happy with our choice to splash it, especially since we had pretty good fixing. And, I think we played pretty well. We got some boxes. Very exciting. All right. If you would like to support the channel, everything that we're doing, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing on this video, and sharing it. It is the absolute best way you can support me at absolutely no cost to you. If you are interested in supporting me a little bit more directly, my Patreon will be down below. I like my Patreon. I put a lot of hard work into it. It's kind of like my little baby, my little like diary almost. So I appreciate everybody that subscribes through Patreon. And with that, I will see you guys tomorrow with the beginning of the Tarkir Dragonstorm set review.